Hey everyone, it's Jenny and welcome back to my channel. The story ain't over. So today I want to do a fun sort of summer book recs video. It's been a while since I did like a specifically themed book rec video aside from my Epic Book Recs videos, which you can check out on the Epic Reads channel. And I thought that since it's the middle of July, it would be a great time to tell you some like perfect summer / beach read books, ones that will put you in a good mood or are a little bit romancy and just overall like great reads. But before we get into the video, I want to talk a little bit about today's sponsor, which is Native. So Native makes these really awesome deodorants that are vegan and cruelty free. They are paraben, aluminum, and sulfate free, which is really awesome. And they're made from familiar and simple ingredients like coconut oil and shea butter. One of the things that I love about these is that their texture is like really nice and smooth. It's not sticky at all, and it goes on smooth and dries quickly. And these scents, let me tell you, are fantastic. I've never actually tried Native before this, and so when they sent me the stuff, I was like, oh, okay, like this is cool. And then I smelt them all and they were fantastic. So I got 3 different scents. So the first one I got is Midnight Jasmine and Sage. And I really love this one because I have always loved the scent Jasmine. And I think it's just a really subtle, you know, flowery scent. The next one I got is Sweet Peach and Nectar, and I absolutely love anything related to peach. So this was like that perfect sort of fruity scent that isn't too strong. And then the last one that I got, and my favorite that I use basically every day, is Eucalyptus and Mint. And this one is again super fresh. If you like eucalyptus, it's great and it just smells really nice. But yeah, these are not the only scents that you can choose. They have a wide range of choices on their website, so definitely go check that out. And Native stays on all day, even after exercise or a full day. Another thing that I thought was really awesome is that they offer plastic-free versions of their deodorants. So it's the same formula, but it's just more sustainable packaging, and that's actually what I got. And last year, they donated $2 million worth of product to Hope and Comfort, a nonprofit organization to deliver health and confidence to those in need. And Native does not just stop there with deodorants. They also have body washes and toothpaste, which I think is really awesome. So you should definitely go check that out. So normally 3 deodorants are $36, but if you use the link in my description and use my code THISSTORY, you can get your set of 3 for $24. That is 33% off, which I think is an awesome deal. And not only that, if you use my link and my code THISSTORY, you can also get 20% off of their body washes and toothpaste. So whatever your needs are, you know, for your hot girl, hot boy, however you identify summer, you can go grab these deodorants or the body washes or the toothpaste for a really nice discount with my link and code. It really helps me out when you guys use those links and codes that I post and, you know, support these sponsorships, and it allows me to just bring you continuous free content. So yeah, I really appreciate it whenever you guys do. All right, so let's get into the books that I want to talk about for this video, the summer reads I think you should pick up. All of these are fantastic and some of my like favorite books to pick up when I want to feel happy and just like have a good time. So the first 2 books that I have are by the same author, and she's quickly becoming one of my favorite authors to read, especially when it comes to like summer beachy reads, and that is Emily Henry and her books Beach Read and People We Meet on Vacation. So I read Beach Read earlier this year, and some of you may have remembered that from like February, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And then she recently came out with People We Meet on Vacation, which I also equally, if not more, loved than Beach Read, and like I can't really decide because I love them both for different reasons. But yeah, so I just ended up loving both of these, and I think they're the perfect read for summertime, for like the day on the beach when you just want to relax on like a beach blanket and read. But for those of you who don't know what these are about, Beach Read follows 2 different writers. So we follow Augustus Everett and we also have January Andrews, and it's told from January's perspective, and she is a romance writer and has always really believed in the idea of love and always thought she had a really great example in her parents and in her own relationship. But the book is sort of starting off in a really bad place for January because her relationship has ended, her father has died, and she's recently found out that he was not so loyal to her mother. And so her whole idea of romance and love has just been shattered, and she is going to the beach house that her father owned on the side to sort of deal with that house and get it sold by the end of the summer, and also deal with her upcoming deadline for her next romance novel. And so she's down to the wire to finish this next book, but also has like 0 inspiration for it because she just can't believe in love anymore. And then that's where Augustus sort of comes in. So Augustus is a guy that January knew from college, and they had a interesting situation and thing going on. And it was sort of a like enemies situation, or from January's perspective at least. And so she happens to find out that Augustus is the next door neighbor at this beach house, and he is now a very successful writer. He's a mystery writer, and he's like always topping the bestseller lists and that sort of thing. And so what starts off as sort of like this hate to love situation or enemies to lovers situation, it really turns into more like a friends thing, and then later lovers, and it was just super, super fantastic. I really enjoyed this book. Like I devoured it in like I think a day or two, and it was just the perfect like feel-good read. I will say that this does have some heavier themes of like grief and cheating and all of that, but I think it dealt with that in a really nice way, and it's mostly like internal stuff that January is dealing with, but the romance part of this was just so, so fantastic, and it was just such a like nice slow burn throughout the book, which I really appreciated. And then Emily Henry's other book, People We Meet on Vacation, is probably like one of the best friends to lovers like books I've read. It follows Poppy and Alex, who are two total opposites. Poppy is the type who really wants to leave her hometown and, you know, loves traveling, and she's a travel writer. And then Alex is the type of guy who really loves his like hometown. He wants to stay there. He wants to like have a family and settle down, that sort of thing. So these two met in college and had basically nothing in common, but they got along really, really well. And for about a decade, they ended up going on these summer trips. So they'd be like these vacations that they'd go on every summer, regardless of where their relationship was at or where they were living. And they would always just go on this summer vacation together, and they always like have been clinging on to this for years, until 2 years ago when everything went wrong. And so since then they haven't spoken. And so the book sort of starts off with Poppy realizing that she's unhappy with her life and wanting to figure out why that is, and realizing it's because Alex is no longer in her life. And so she hatches a plot to do the summer vacation again and, you know, get him on board and try to mend their relationship and get that friendship back. But obviously there's the underlying element of them being totally in love with each other and, you know, trying to figure that out. And it was fantastic. It jumps between timelines in the sense that you get to see some previous summers while also seeing like the current summer that they're having the trip and trying to mend their relationship. And overall, it was just fantastic. Like I loved it. I know some people love this one a little less than Beach Read, but I think both of them have like their own strengths. And so this one was like a fantastic friends to lovers and over a longer period of time and like a lot more like angsty backstory. Whereas I feel like Beach Read was just like a really nice, like contained summer read, but both of them gave me major feels, and I just absolutely loved the romances. All right, so the rest of the books are mostly YA, but the next one is The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. This is one of my favorite books ever, and my favorite of Nicola Yoon's books, even though I don't think I've read any of her other books. I do have a bunch of them though, and I'm excited to pick them up. But this one I love because it is a romance set over like a single day, like less than 24 hours, I believe. And it follows our two different main characters, Natasha and Daniel. And what I love about this is that the two main characters are so different from each other, but they end up sort of falling for each other. So Natasha is the type of person who believes in science and facts, and she is Jamaican, and her family is about to get deported back to Jamaica. So she's trying to find a way to keep her family in America, find some sort of a loophole to stop this deportation. And then on the flip side, Daniel is Korean American. He is the type of guy who believes in love and spontaneous choices and just being an overall dreamer, and he's a bit of a poet as well. But as Korean American, parents don't want him to be a poet. They want him to like find something more steady and secure, and he's always tried to live up to their expectations and be a good student. And so these two characters meet in unlikely circumstances on Natasha's last day in America, and they both sort of join forces to help her out and end up falling for each other. But the book is told in a very interesting format where you get perspectives from other people that Natasha and Daniel encounter throughout their day. And so you're getting to see the way that that day unfolds for other people and how like everyone is going through similar emotions and feelings. And it was just really, really beautiful. So yeah, it's definitely a fast read and like a fun romance, and definitely one that you can like devour at the beach one day. All right, this next one I feel like is a bit unconventional, and I rarely ever recommend this one because it is a bit of an older book, but that is My Name is Memory by Anne Brashares. This is a book that I read like ages and ages ago and actually really enjoyed. It's not one of my favorite books, but I do think it's like a beautiful book and like wonderful read. So basically it follows two different main characters, Lucy and Daniel, and it's sort of a love story across thousands of years. Basically Daniel has something called the memory where he is able to remember all of his previous lives. And so what you discover is that for multiple lives or hundreds of lives, Daniel has been in love with this one girl. And through each life, he's just been trying to find her and be with her and find the moment when they can finally be together without any other obstacle in the way. And there is a bit of a villain villain in this story as well that's keeping these two people apart. But Lucy, on the other hand, is just this regular high school girl in Virginia suburbs who has this crush on this boy named Daniel at her school, and she does not have the memory, but she is the girl that Daniel has been in love with for multiple lives across centuries and, you know, different civilizations and that sort of thing. But as she gets closer to Daniel, she starts to realize that there's a lot more complicated things going on, and he keeps calling her Sophia, and it all feels just so strange, and she just doesn't know how to handle it. And one of the things that I thought was interesting is that although it starts with these two characters in high school, it does actually like span quite a few years, and so Lucy does get older. And you also get a lot of chapters from Daniel's perspective from his previous lives where he's tried to be with Lucy and, like, you know, find her and stop sort of the villain that's coming between them. And it is a really heart-wrenching read, I will say that. And it's like one of those reads where if you're just in the mood for like a beautiful love story that like will make your heart ache, I think it's like a perfect one for that. And I think it's just like perfect for summer in that way, because for some reason I personally like to read like romancy historical fictions in the summer, I think. I don't know why. And I also just feel like romances are just like really nice to just like read on the beach or like when you want to feel in a good mood. So yeah, I really love this book, even though I rarely mention it. And it was just like really beautiful, so highly recommend. All right, this next one is one that is actually set in the summer, and that is When Dimple Met Rishi by Sandhya Menon. As you guys may know, if you've been following my channel, I absolutely love Sandhya Menon's books. She's an Indian author, and she writes like just awesome books with South Asian main leads, just like being unapologetically themselves, and I love it. So this one is no different. It follows our two main characters, Dimple and Rishi. So Dimple is like the type of person who is like very focused on school and like her career and wanting to succeed, and she wants to become like an app developer. But her family is sort of obsessed with like setting her up with like the right guy and getting that aspect of her life together. And then on the flip side, we have Rishi. So Rishi is sort of the dreamer. He really believes in the idea of love and really believes in the idea of like an arranged marriage. He thinks that allowing your parents to choose someone for you that may align with your like values is like a really great idea. And so when Dimple and Rishi's parents sort of come together to sort of propose this idea of setting these two up, Rishi is totally on board with it, but Dimple obviously would never be on board with this sort of thing, so they don't even tell her. And what happens is that Dimple wants to go to this like app developing camp in the summer, and so her parents mysteriously say yes to this thing that they usually would never say yes to. But it turns out that Rishi is also going to be going to this camp so that he can meet Dimple. And it's this really cute sort of like hate sort of ish to love romance, like definitely on Dimple's side. She's like not about this entire situation, but she slowly warms up to Rishi, and Rishi sort of discovers some things about himself as well along the way. And I think that it was just like a really adorable and cute romance, and just like a fun one to read in the summer because it is set in the summer and just has that like vibe of like this is all gonna end by the end of the summer and we should figure it out. So for that reason, I really, really enjoyed it. And I think I just loved how these two characters were just so different and learned to fall for each other. All right, the next book that I want to recommend is actually an adult novel, and that is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So I feel like Taylor Jenkins Reid and like this book and Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is like really hyped on BookTube and a lot of like book community areas, but I do really love this book and I thought it was fantastic. It's not like one of my all-time favorites, but it is one that I think is like a great read and like a really enjoyable read. And I think it's just perfect for summer because it's kind of that idea of like a band on tour and like that kind of fun feeling of like concerts, and I feel like concerts are always more fun in the summer. And I think that these characters are also interesting and complex and have so many different opinions that it's like really interesting to read. And it's also like quite a fast read as well because most of the book is told in dialogue, and so that was just like a quick enjoyable read. But basically, if you guys don't know what this book is about, it follows a fictional band from the 70s, and the book is sort of telling the untold story of them, where it's like a video / interview oral history from the actual people in the band telling the story of what happened in the 70s. So the entire book is just like dialogue, like it's like the different characters' name and then what they are saying in this interview, and they're sort of telling the story of what happened in the 70s back in the day when like Daisy was her own artist and then the Six was separate, and then when they joined together and like their glory days and how they fell apart. And it's just like this really fun and interesting situation, and you're trying to figure out what went wrong with them because obviously they're fictional, so you don't know what actually happened. But what I found really interesting is that like as you are getting the story from each of the characters, they all have slightly different things to say and remember things differently and have different like gripes with each other. And so that way it was just like really, really interesting. And it does have a bit of a romance. I will say it wasn't my favorite romance, but I thought it was fun and interesting and like captivating. And for that reason, I think it's just like a fun, enjoyable read. All right, and the final couple books that I want to talk about are like the first and second book in a series, a contemporary series that I absolutely love, and that is Anna K and Anna K Away. So these are some of my favorite books ever, and I specifically wanted to recommend Anna K Away as a summer read, but I think Anna K itself also works as a summer read. The reason I say Anna K Away specifically is because this one is actually set in the summer and like sort of on vacation, but this one is set sort of during the school year. But regardless, both of them have like similar vibes and really wonderful characters that you will fall in love with. But basically, if you guys don't know what Anna K is about, even though I talk about it incessantly on my channel, this is sort of like a Gossip Girl-esque situation. It follows these like teens in upper class society in New York, and mainly it follows her main character Anna K, who is half Korean, and she is also super wealthy, and basically she's been like away from New York for a while. She's been at like this other school, but she comes back to New York to help her brother out with a sticky situation he's gotten into in his relationship. And Anna is like sort of the perfect girl at her school and like in their circle of friends and, you know, in their community. But this is a story of her sort of falling for exactly the wrong guy, even though she is in a relationship herself, and how she's forced to reckon with her like identity and how everyone else is sort of forced to see her in a different light. And I think that it was just so fantastically done. And there's a lot of like characters in this book as well. And I forgot to mention, this is sort of a retelling of Anna Karenina. So it follows that sort of storyline, and each of the characters in Anna Karenina appears as a character in this. And so like the relationships are the same, but this is obviously set in modern day New York. But yeah, I really love this because there's so many different characters that like have their own personal things going on, and the way that the book is told, it's sort of like this omniscient third person, and so you are getting to see into the head of each of these characters and how their lives sort of intertwine and intersect, and all the drama that sort of happens amongst all of this. And so that way it feels a lot like Gossip Girl, but I just love the characters and like their relationships and how much they care for each other. And it was overall a fantastic, fantastic book and very, very enjoyable, I felt like. And so when the sequel came out, I was super excited about it, and it was equally amazing. So highly recommend if you haven't picked up the sequel, and they're both great for the summer. All right, but those are all of the books that I wanted to talk about for this video. I really hope you found like a summer beachy read to pick up, one that you'll like just fall into and enjoy, because all of these are ones that like I really, really enjoyed, even if some of them aren't my like ultimate favorites. They're ones that I had a fantastic time reading. But as always, let me know down below what you guys have been reading for the summer, or what you think the perfect summery beachy read is. I would love to see what your recommendations are. And please go check out my Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads in the description and down below if you want to get more regular updates on my reading. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video, and please remember that the story ain't over. Bye!